John Wells. I'm the property and casualty director for the Mississippi Insurance Department. And at the time of the 1979 Easter flood, I worked for Kemper Insurance Company, and they were located out on Lakeland Drive, where the present day Trustmark Mortgage is located. Well, we had torrential rain that week, and of course, you look back and think about when you noticed something that was really outstanding. And we had a bowling league, and on Thursday nights, and on my way home Thursday night, normally I turn off of Cooper Road. I lived in Woodville Heights and South Jackson, and I normally would turn off of Cooper Road right in front of Candlestick Park, which is kind of the low end of the subdivision. When I turned off in there, my headlights I could see water, and people were walking in water up to their knees. So obviously I quickly backed out of there and went up the hill and went around to my house. So like I said, that was the first. It's like, uh-oh, something's going on. And then, of course, we were open the next day, Friday the 13th, and it's just a normal day. And when we walked out of the office that afternoon out the back door, about 100 yards away, we could see water. And of course, you know, that's very close in proximity to the Pearl River, where that location is. And you know, you think, well, okay, they got a little flooding over there, and on about your business. And sometime Saturday, they called a group, and I was out of town. It was Easter weekend, and they called a group of guys, went out there, and they taped the doors and put sandbags up. And we have a unique filing system that had these plastic square box type things that hung on a rack. And so they went in and they got the lower three off of there, which would give you, about a little cushion, a little more than 3 feet. And they put those on top of the bins. In the event that some water got in there, we were good up to 3 feet. And so we went from there all day Sunday, and the water kept rising to the point to where they had a little over 4 feet in that office, which hit me about here. And if you can imagine sitting at your desk, it's about 1.5 feet over the top of your desk. And so they called us out to come help get the files out of there. And I had a connection with Baker Engineers, and called them, and they were kind enough to loan us a couple boats. And so a friend of mine and he lived down the street, and we both worked at Kemper. He came and picked me up in his truck, and we went by Michael Baker and got the boats and went out to Lakeland there. And as soon as we got out of the truck, we heard gunshots. And there was a lady out in the median, the water was there, and she was shooting at a snake. And we were like, oh no, what's going on here? So, but we got everything settled down, and we used the smaller boat to put the files in, and we actually went in the office in the larger boat and retrieving files. And that went on for probably about 2 or 3 days, and we relocated out to Clinton in the old Howard Brothers, which is now, I think, Pads and Frames and Cowboy Maloney over there on Highway 80. And we were there for the remainder of the summer until they got the building redone over at over there on, we're on Lakeland Drive, and then later on we moved further back. And this is a picture of us getting the files out, and that's me at 26 years old. And looking at this, like I said, that's one of the underwriting supervisors, another underwriting manager, and another one of the commercial underwriters. And I think this young man here was the marketing manager. That was his son.
Exactly. Where was that taken?
Where?
Yeah.
It was right in front of the quarter, actually. Where the quarter inn is now, is where our staging area was, because the water was so deep, because there was a road that ran right down by our office there, a driveway. So it was, for some reason, was deeper there, and we went around this end, and it was shallow enough, and actually had trucks backed up there to put the files in when we got them out, out of the boat there. So but we did not miss a day of work. We went in and got got the files out, and then of course they'll help transport those over to the new location. And of course we had some of the files from the floodwater had shaken the racks of the file cabinets, and they had fallen in the water. And then of course the lower ones, some of those had got wet, and claims files had gotten wet. And we had one big room there, and it was really kind of comical now to think about it. There was a company by the name of King's Weatherby, and Kemper went there and rented a bunch of microwaves. And he had this big room, and he had microwaves all the way around the wall. And he had ladies in there to take those files apart one page at a time and dry them out in a microwave. And of course, you had to be real careful, because if you left a staple in there, you burst file up. So that was another thing, that you're not only did you have floodwater, but you had the silt that goes with the river. So you had and if you can imagine stuff that's sitting on your desk, and once it dried, I mean, not many things floated off. You get occasional little vase or something like that is bobbing and around in the water, something like that. But most of the stuff, paper and all, just it settled down. I guess a lot of it had to do with that silt. We had some situations that were pretty trying, where there were people buzzing through there in bass boats, and you worried about the wake and knocking the windows out, and that kind of stuff. But all in all, everybody was kind of well behaved. And I laugh and tell people, I said, anybody, the people that didn't have a gun had a knife. I said, it was kind of like the Wild West out there. But all in all, like I said, everybody was well behaved, and it was really kind of a testament to the employees, and that the effort that they made to get that the files out and get everything straightened out. This thing got much worse, and as you probably know, and it got into downtown, the Coliseum then, and I've got the Great Flood book, and there's a picture of the Coliseum, and from looking into the inside, and it looks like a swimming pool. It's full all the way up to the first row of seats there. So, and then like I said, the lower downtown Jackson area and all was flooded. So if you go like 20 right before you come up the stack going north, off of 20, right there where you can see the river, it was right at the top of the bridge. We had just started, got our first computers, and of course, these monster things, and we had a DOS system with the dark background and the green writing, and we had set up underwriting files. So a lot of those files we had already gotten the information out, the underwriting information out, and had put it on our computer. So some of those files that we were unable to recover, because they got to a point where they started, getting mildew and all that, and so they couldn't continue drying them, and they just, you'd open a file and it had a piece of paper in there that says this file was destroyed in the Easter flood of 1979. And of course, if it was an auto file, we had all the auto underwriting information on our computer, so we had saved that information. I don't think at the time they realized that there was that much flood potential, where that area is. And later on, there was an article in the Clarion Ledger which was saying anything, I think, from across that bridge on out to probably where Dogwood is now, was in the federal floodplain, and that there was some, possibility that they were not going to allow any more building out there. And obviously we see that there was, Zurich was not too far down Lakeland Drive from us, and the rumor we heard about that was it's that brick building, red brick building down by Blue Cross, and that there were rabbits, deer, and dogs and everything that was sleeping on the porch of that, cohabitating there on the porch of that thing. And
That's not the one with you could park underneath?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. And like I said, it was all kind of wildlife up there cohabitating on that porch because of the flood water. So and flood is not a pretty sight. And I was young, and to some degree we had some fun with that. It was bad for the people, and like I said, we had employees that lost, if not everything, most everything. you know, we had a couple guys that, you know, they were able to get their stuff out. And they left stuff like linens and silverware in there, the stuff that they could, you know, could wash. And they were talking about neighbors that just refused to believe this. And you know, when they are pulling out with the water lapping at the bottom of the truck, that these people were just getting started. And so you look back at that, and like I said, if you go through that flood book and what people suffered, and you had some of the areas of downtown that were low. You know, these people never dreamed that they would be, you know, flooded. There was one story in there of a contractor who had just built this elaborate house out in Eastover, and he built a dam around his house, you know, while the flood water was forming, and I think they said it held it out for half a day, and then the house was flooded eventually. So, you know, people just everywhere that, you know, working with sandbags and everything on the levee over here, and like I said, when you're involved in this, and your attention is really toward what you're trying to accomplish, where, you know, that's your livelihood, that's where you work, and you're trying to, you know, help your employer get get reorganized, get out of there and get reorganized, and you miss a lot of stuff. But going back and looking at it and thinking back, you know, like I said, it's awful, and I, you know, certainly am appreciative of what people go through with that, whether, you know, be from a hurricane or, you know, and that's certainly double, you know, jeopardy there. But the flood part is just nasty. It's because it's not swimming pool water or bath water or anything like that. It's just nasty river water. And we're a lot more educated now about the threat of flood, and that you can go out to a website that the federal government has and put your address in there, and it'll tell you if you're in the floodplain or not. And obviously, if you have a mortgage company like I did, they're going to make you take the flood coverage out, and you want to make sure there that it's not something that they place to protect just their interest, but your interest also, because you do have your contents in there. And when you see situations where people had, were actually putting their furnishings and their clothes and stuff like that on top of their house, and you see then what can happen, and every U-Haul truck in town was rented in for the area. Once they put that word out, then they were dried up, and some people had no way to get their stuff out other than friends just piling in a car or their pickup and doing that. So you need to be aware of that, and then also that if you remotely think you need flood insurance, that you need to look into buying